The claims portal was introduced for the insurance industry in 2010 after the Ministry of Justice mandated that personal injury claims that fell under the pre-action protocol must be processed using the portal. Designed to meet the needs of users, it provides them with a safe and secure means of electronic communication. It also speeds up decision making and is aimed to avoid inconsistencies and inaccuracies, but it has not always received good press. With that in mind today, I'm joined in the studio by Colin Hawes from Absolute as part of today's digital claims issue to discuss these issues. Welcome to the studio, Colin.
Thank you.
In a world where customers are used to real-time transactions and speed is paramount, how do you think the insurance industry is dealing with the timescales imposed by the claims portal, and do you think that in future they will decrease?
I think they're finding it challenging. I mean, from Absolute's perspective, obviously we have no direct involvement within the portal. Our area of expertise is around fraud investigation, and I think that certainly presents a number of challenges to insurers. Speed is always seen as being sort of paramount, and I think today's society we're not used to waiting for anything, and insurers always have this sort of vexed situation of, do I agree settlement or do I undertake some further fraud investigations? The point I would wish to make, I think it's all largely based on around evidence, the need for detailed review, not being too fearful of taking a case outside of the portal, but actually using it with some intelligence-based data research, making sound decisions and slightly more sophisticated decisions rather than speed being the be-all and end-all. We're finding even as a service supplier with some of our service standards we're being asked to meet, we've got service standards around research as short as 4 hours. Certainly 24 hours, 48 hours is very much the norm for us now, and that seems to be a real appetite from insurers to have that sort of speed of response to make those quick decisions.
Many insurers still use checklists to decide which claimants require further investigation. Do you believe that that is treating customers fairly, or should insurers actually be less prescriptive?
I have to say, over the years, and a number of years in insurance, and I still see checklists being used by insurers and third-party administrators. I take a view, and I think it's sort of shared throughout Absolute, we have some serious concerns about the quality of some checklists. Do they treat the customer fairly? I think in many cases they treat the customer poorly. I think again there's a lack of sophistication around the checklist regime. It needs to be incorporating intelligence, open source research, documentation, and viewing the case as a whole and aligning that with a skill set that utilises insurance investigation techniques and good underwriting and claims techniques, which in some areas are seen as being replaced by the checklist and the one-size-fits-all.
Big data is a big buzzword at the moment. Do you think that data is helping or hindering in the claims portal and in managing fraud?
I think data in itself is helping. Again, and there's a lot of talk around big data, it's quite a buzzword, quite a buzz expression. We prefer to concentrate on what we call smart data, the smart use of data. I think for the industry, and certainly the levels of instructions that we receive, I think insurers have some concerns about the amount of data that they're receiving and their ability to actually sift that data. The fact that innocent claimants also get swept up in that initial analysis, and the number of false positives. And it's a finite resource in any sort of claims or fraud department in an insurer, and their ability to actually act on cogent, well thought out data and information that leads to either the innocent and genuine policyholder and claimant being treated fairly and quickly, and those that warrant further investigation to have that undertaken on an evidence-based approach.
Market commentators often talk about collaboration, but is there room for insurers to collaborate in this space, and could that go beyond the insurance sector?
I think insurers have to collaborate. I think from our perspective, almost on the outside looking in, I think they have to collaborate more. From a personal perspective, I believe that our sector in the area of fraud will gradually contract in the same way that the big four accountants have, the big law firms. I think ultimately they'll be left with a very few specialist investigators, and those people those firms will act as the coordination and the collaboration for most insurers. The IFB in the last few days have been talking about further consultation with the market around property and casualty, which is fine and needed. I do fear that consultation will be too slow, it'll be too late. I think fraudsters already have moved into that space, and I think there's a need for a much leaner, quicker, nimble reaction to market collaboration. And it's also collaboration that should encompass a whole range of financial services. It needs to involve the grey economy, for want of a better description, HMRC. Fraudsters generally don't contain their fraudulent activities just to insurance. They look at the easiest means to make money, and invariably there'll be overlap, we find, with other sectors. And I think if we're not collaborating across those sectors, we're missing a real trick.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but thank you, Colin, for shedding some light on those issues. This is part of Post's Digital Claims Edition. For more, check out Post online, in print and in the iPad app edition. Also look out for white papers and associated content on Post's Intelligent app and Post Insurance Hound. That's all from me for now. Goodbye.